You did this on purpose. You tricked us. You deliberately hid this from us. I didn't trick anyone. You wanted Blake to be Russell's father. You got your wish. Congratulations on your new family. I hope it's everything you dreamed of. You're destroying Russell's life out of spite. No, I'm living my own life. Russell chose Blake. You chose Blake. Blake said he wanted to be Russell's real dad. So be it. He's a real dad now, complete with real financial obligations. This isn't over. We're going to fight this. Our lawyer says. Their lawyer screwed up by not reading the paperwork. That's on them. Good luck with that. I hung up. The next week was pure chaos. Lauren called 17 times. Blake called 9. Russell called twice, and those messages were the hardest to ignore. His voice sounded small, confused, scared, but I didn't call back. Changed my number on day 8. Sent one final text from my old number before disconnecting it. All future communication regarding Russell should go through Blake Morrison, his legal father. I am not involved. Then I blocked everyone and moved forward with my life. My attorney called on 8:10, barely able to contain his amusement. They're filing to reverse the adoption, Paul said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. Claiming you deliberately withheld information about the financial implications that you tricked them into signing. Did I withhold anything? Not a thing. Their attorney reviewed all the paperwork before they signed. The financial obligations are spelled out in black and white. They're claiming ignorance of basic family law, which isn't going to fly. So they're basically admitting their attorney was incompetent. Essentially. They're saying they didn't understand that adoption meant actual adoption with actual parental responsibilities. That they thought it was just a formality. Can they win? Paul actually laughed out loud. Not a chance. The law is crystal clear on this. When a stepparent adopts, all parental rights and obligations transfer to them. Every family law attorney in the state knows this. It's literally day one stuff in family law. Their attorney screwed up by not explaining it properly, but that's not your problem. That's a malpractice issue between them and their lawyer. But they have to pay court costs for this. Oh yes. And when they lose, which they will, you can countersue for harassment and attorney fees. It'd run them another $15,000 to $20,000 on top of everything else. Tell them to bring it. I want to see this through. The court date was set for 6 weeks out. During that time, my life got significantly better while theirs apparently imploded. I used my first child support free paycheck to finally buy a real couch, not from Craigslist or a garage sale, from an actual furniture store. Sat on about 15 different models before choosing one. Paid cash. A salesperson looked at me like I was crazy for paying cash for furniture, but I didn't care, it was mine, bought with my money, no payments. The second paycheck, I'd opened investment accounts, put $1,000 into index funds, another $1,000 into a Roth IRA. Started reading about retirement planning and compound interest, things I'd never had time or money to think about before. The third paycheck, I took myself to a decent restaurant for the first time in 3 years. Ordered the steak, didn't even look at the prices, got an appetizer and dessert, tip 30. Walked out of there feeling like an actual human being instead of a walking wallet. Meanwhile, according to my cousin who still had connections to Lauren's family, things were falling apart spectacularly over there. The school had suspended Russell's enrollment when they couldn't make the first tuition payment. No tuition, no classes. They'd scrambled to enroll him in public school, the same district school they'd spent years looking down on, the same one Russell had mocked as being for poor kids who couldn't afford better. Blake's Range Rover got repossessed in the country club parking lot apparently. It was leased, and they'd fallen 3 months behind on payments once they realized they needed that money for Russell's expenses. Someone caught it on video, actually filmed the tow truck hauling away Blake's precious status symbol while he stood there yelling. Lauren's designer purses started appearing on resale websites, the Gucci, the Prada, the Louis Vuitton bags that essentially funded through child support, all being sold for pennies on the dollar. Their social media went almost completely quiet, no more vacation photos, no more humble brags about their luxury lifestyle. The facade was crumbling, and everyone could see it. The court hearing was almost anticlimactic compared to all the drama leading up to it. Their new attorney was clearly bargain bin quality compared to the fancy one they'd used for the adoption. Young guy, looked fresh out of law school, kept shuffling papers and checking his notes. He argued that I had failed to disclose the financial ramifications of the adoption, that any reasonable person would have explained these things explicitly, that I'd taken advantage of their trust and good faith. The judge, a woman in her 50s with zero patience for nonsense, cut him off mid-sentence. Counselor, are you seriously arguing that your clients didn't understand that adopting a child comes with financial responsibility? Your Honor, Mr. Patterson should have explicitly explained. Mr. Patterson isn't an attorney. He's not required to provide legal advice. That's what your firm was paid to do. The financial obligations are clearly stated in the adoption decree that your firm reviewed and approved. This is Family Law 101. What exactly did your clients think adoption meant? The attorney shuffled his papers again, clearly uncomfortable. They believe Mr. Patterson would continue supporting the child out of moral obligation, Your Honor. That the adoption was more of a symbolic gesture to solidify the family unit. Moral obligation. The judge looked incredulous. She flipped through the case file. Let me see if I understand this correctly. According to the record, your client spent months telling Mr. Patterson he wasn't needed, that their household provided a better family environment, that the child preferred his stepfather. The child legally rejected Mr. Patterson's name and identity. Mr. Patterson was called, and I quote from text messages and evidence, a loser who can't afford a real house. And now your clients expect him to continue paying for everything while having a relationship with the child. The child's welfare should be the primary concern. The child's welfare is now Mr. Morrison's responsibility. That's what adoption means, counselor. You don't get to pick and choose which parts of parenthood you want. You can't legally adopt a child to erase one parent and then expect the parent to keep funding everything. That's not how this works. She flipped through more papers, shaking her head. Mr. Morrison is employed, correct? Yes, Your Honor, but his business. His business obligations are not this court's concern. He assumed parental responsibility voluntarily. He had legal counsel. The paperwork was clear. Motion denied. Mr. Morrison is the legal parent and bears all associated obligations. Court costs will be paid by the plaintiffs. Boo adjourned. The gavel came down. Final. I walked out of that courtroom feeling lighter than I had in years. Didn't gloat. Didn't celebrate. Just walked out. Lauren and Blake sat in the gallery, both looking like they'd been hit by a truck, their faces pale drawn. Blake wouldn't even look in my direction. Lauren was crying quietly, dabbing at her eyes with tissues. Russell wasn't there, probably in his new public school, learning what life looked like without someone else's money covering everything. 2 months later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Almost sent it to voicemail out of habit, but something made me answer. Mr. Patterson, this is Vice Principal HRIX from Roosevelt Middle School. I'm calling about Russell Morrison. My chest tightened despite everything. Old instincts die hard. What about him? He's been involved in a physical altercation with another student. They need a guardian to pick him up immediately. School policy for fighting. We've tried reaching his parents multiple times with no answer. They're still listed as an emergency contact in our system. I'm not his legal parent anymore. That changed 2 months ago. You'll need to keep trying his mother and Blake Morrison. Sir, we've tried 6 times. Phones are going straight to voicemail. We need someone here within the next hour, or we'll have to contact social services for temporary placement. I sat in my truck for 10 minutes after that call, staring at my phone. This wasn't my problem anymore. I signed away my rights. Russell had rejected me, replaced me, told me I was worthless. I didn't know him anything. But he was also 13 years old. A kid. I kid once upon a time. Against every bit of logic and self-preservation I had, I drove to the school. Russell was sitting in the main office when I walked in, black eyes swelling purple, knuckles scraped raw and bloody, his shirt torn at the collar. He looked up when he heard my footsteps, saw me, and his whole face collapsed. "You came," he whispered, tears starting immediately. I nodded. Didn't trust myself to speak. A vice principal explained the situation. Another student had been bullying Russell about his name change, saying his real dad didn't want him anymore, that he'd been given away like trash. Today, it had escalated. The kid pushed Russell pushed back, then fists started flying. Both boys were suspended for 3 days per the zero tolerance policy. "I'll take him," I said. We walked to my truck in complete silence. Russell got in without a word, staring straight ahead. I drove with no particular destination in mind, just driving. Finally, he spoke, voice barely above a whisper. "Why did you come?" "Because you needed someone." "I thought you hated me now. After what I said, after everything." "I don't hate you. I'm just done being treated like I'm disposable." We ended up at a diner, the same one we used to go to when he was little, back when he'd order chocolate chip pancakes and tell me about dinosaurs for hours. I ordered coffee. He ordered water. Neither of us touched the menus. "Everything's falling apart," he said quietly, staring at his water glass.